ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृतं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नाष्टप्रयेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome you all on our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam on the auspicious month of Purushottam month. So it's been said that whatever spiritual activity we do in the month of Purushottam month, we get many fold benefits, right? So that's the thing. And as discussed earlier, that we will be reading one of the Bhagavad Mahatmya or glories of Srimad Bhagavatam and continue our things. And today is how rare Srimad Bhagavatam is. To hear Srimad Bhagavatam, how rare it is. It says, Durlabhe katha loke Srimad Bhagavata bhava koti janma samudena dullabhyate. That means many lives we have spent in another species, like an animal, insects, birds, or species in water. An unlimited life we have spent in unlimited yonis. So there are 84 lakhs yonis, and we have spent many life, koti janma. And then even in human form of life, we have gone through unlimited times and done so many pious activities. In fact, it says not just pious activity, we have associated with the Vaishnavas, with the devotees, and then by which mercy of the devotees, we are now able to get in connection with Srimad Bhagavatam, or we are able to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. So imagine how rare it is. Even the same thing Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter. There he says, Manushyanam sahasresu kaschid yatiti siddhye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mama veti tattvataha. That means out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Imagine, in 1,000 person, one person endeavor for perfection, like knowing who am I, who God is, isn't it? What's my relationship with him? And thousands of those who endeavor for this perfection, barely one gets to know the truth about Krishna. Imagine how rare it is. And we all are fortunate to discuss on Srimad Bhagavatam on this auspicious month actually. So having said that, let's start our discussion. Yesterday we went through chapter number 1, and there we seen how the Shaunaka Rishi, they asked questions to Suta Goswami, and then Suta Goswami explained those one by one to others. And he offered obeisances to Sukhdev Goswami and Saraswati Devi and Narayan Rishi and even Vyasadeva. And then after that, we have gone through 6 questions that I'll just repeat in a very quick. So first question was ultimate good for all humanity, isn't it? And the second question was essence of all scriptures. And the third question was, what was the reason of Krishna appearance? Why did he appear? And the fourth question was provide some his about Guna avatar, sorry, Leela avatars. No, Purusha avatars. And the fifth one is Leela avatars. And the sixth one, the important one, is when Krishna, after finishing his pastimes, went to his loka, where did the dharma took shelter? So we have gone through the question number 1 and 2, and the answer was given as bhakti. Saye pomsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radoksaje ahetu ki apratiyata yatma suprasiddhiti. The supreme occupation of everyone is actually to completely satisfy our own self. Yatma suprasiddhiti. How can the self be satisfied? That's by uninterrupted and unmotivated devotional service. When the desire of our own heart goes towards Krishna, there we actually become happy within the self. See, becoming happy is very, very difficult, isn't it? We all are hankering for happiness. So just for example, a man walking on the streets, he thinks that if I have a bicycle, it would be much better for me. And the person who has a bike or bicycle, he actually goes for a motorbike. He desires for a motorbike. And the person who has a motorbike, he desires for a four-wheeler. And even the person has a four-wheeler, he wants to more and more and more. So the desire, it's explained in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 15 that it's unending. It's like banyan trees. The roots, when it goes to the soil, it again brings more and more. So this desire is counterless. But when we surrender to Lord Krishna, to the take shelter of Adokshaja, the detachment and knowledge, it comes by its own. And hence the bhakti is being the answer for question 1 and question 2. So we'll take forward from there. And then we discussed about the purpose of Varnashram Dharma is actually to please Hari. And we went through the stages of bhakti, the 9 stages. Maybe we'll elaborate one day the whole 9 stages of bhakti, what they are and how actually, you know, let's do it right away, just for a couple of minutes, you know, to understand more why bhakti is and what are the steps of bhakti. So the first step is called as Shraddha. There are 9 folds of bhakti as well. In fact, there are 14, but 9 are primary. Shraddha. Shraddha means having faith. Faith in what? Faith in scriptures, faith in Guru. That is called as Shraddha. And then when the Shraddha happens, the faith happens, we start associating with the persons like Sadhu Sangha, the second step, or association with the devotees, or association where Krishna Katha goes, or where the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, these things goes, we try to associate with the people of the same like-minded. And then after that, we start doing bhajan kriya. So the one which we are doing right now, it also comes in bhajan kriya, like hearing and sharing about the glories of Krishna. And then when we do that, the fourth step is anartha nivritti. All our unwanted attachments to this material world and our hankering desires, unwanted desires. Why it is? Because the desire what we have, it actually temporary. As soon as we get it, we don't value it, and we have some more desire. And that's this, like, you know, unwanted attachments and desires starts going away. And after that, we become nishtha. Nishtha is steadiness. Then we become steadiness in our process of bhakti. And after that, we get ruchi. Like, you know, we don't have, no one have to force you. Like, you know, in our schools, when kids come to our home, we ask them, study, 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 but they don't. But a person, when they have taste in studying, we don't have to ask that person to study. They do it by their own. In the similar way, when we get the steadiness in spiritual life, we get more test, right? That's called as ruchi, the seventh stage. And after ruchi, we get asakti. Asakti means attachment. And attachment to whom? To Lord Hari, not to this material world, to Lord Hari. Like, because who can give us shelter and bring us back to Golok Vrindavan. And then the next stage is called as bhava, or love of God. Then we get love of God. So these are the stages, 9 stages of bhakti. Maybe sometimes we can elaborate more on that, but extreme stage is to get bhakti or love of God, or prema. And the initial stage, the first is shraddha. Shraddha is basically having a faith in our scriptures. What the scripture says, that it is correct. And then going forward to the stages of the bhakti we discussed yesterday, and then in a very nutshell, the guna avatar is being described, but it's described later on properly. So guna avatar is basically kind of 3, that is Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva. So Lord Vishnu, 3 gunas, we know about 3 gunas, right? So 3 gunas, what? Sataguna, or goodness, passion, and ignorance. Passion is Rajaguna, ignorance is Tamaguna. So 3 gunas. So these 3 gunas are being associated with 3 deities: Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, or Lord Shiva. Just to note that Lord Shiva is an kind of controller of mode of ignorance, but mind it, he is not in ignorance. He is just taking care of because of the service, right? So having this said, and it's being said that we should be worshipping to Vishnu. Why? Because he is a mode of goodness and he can give us liberation. Vishnu. And then it goes more onto that about bhakti, that why to worship. After that, there's a nice verse comes in before ending 2nd chapter, and there it says Vasudeva is the ultimate goal of everything, right? That explains the essence of all process, you know, even doing Ashtanga yoga or doing Jnana yoga or doing Karma yoga or whatever it is, the ultimate process should be the Vasudeva. And then the 4th question we discussed a bit in a nutshell, that Purusha avatar. That first is Karnodakasai Vishnu, the second is Garbhodakasai Vishnu, and third is Shodakasai Vishnu. These are the 3 Purusha avatar. That's answer to question number 4. I think we have covered till this. And then after answering question number 4, he answered question number 3, the purpose of Lord Krishna's appearance. He said Krishna came here. I think some message there. Okay, please everyone mute yourself when we are not talking here. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Then by describing about Krishna, we enter into chapter number 3, and there it says, the title is Krishna is the source of all incarnation. Krishna is the source of all incarnation, means Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnation, what he sees. Then Suta Goswami starts explaining about the incarnations. He described the 3 Purusas, and you know, I'm not going detail into 3 Purusas, because when we come to 2nd canto, we'll describe it in a more detailed way, what 3 Purusas are, how they come and how they create this universe. We'll just discuss later on. So that's why I'm just going away from there. So 3 avatar we discussed, and then he discussed about 22 incarnation of Lord. Before stating Krishna, he started showing that he says about Chatus Kumar, 4 Kumaras, sons of Brahma. Then Varaha avatar. Even Varaha avatar, there are 2 Varaha avatar. We know one mostly, when the one who actually killed to Hirnaksha. But there are 2 Varaha avatar. Once it happens in Manu. We'll discuss that it comes in Canto 3. So there we'll be discussing that. So 4 Kumaras, the Varaha avatar, and then Nar Narayan Rishi, then Narad Muni, then Dattatreya, then Kapila Muni, then Yajna, then Rishabhadev, and then Prithu Maharaj, then Matsya Avatar, then Kurma Avatar, and many more like Mohini Murti, Dhanvantari. So incarnation of Krishna is unlimited, but some 22 incarnations are being described here, which are more kind of emphasis is given on that. And after that, he again describes about Narsingh Dev, Vamana Dev, Lord Ramachandra, then Krishna, and then Balrama, Parshuram, Vyasadev. Again, Vyasadev is also incarnation of Krishna himself. And we know about Buddha avatar, the Kalki avatar, which is still to come. So he described all this incarnation, and then he concluded that there are unlimited incarnations, like many rivulets of water. We can see that we cannot count the ripples in a sea or ocean, isn't
Prabhu,
it?
one question. Is Buddha an avatar of Sri Krishna?
Yes.
Buddha. Okay. And I mean, out of the 9 avatar, he is one of the avatar, Buddha.
Yes, from 22, we know 10. Basically, we talk about 10, but here in the Bhagavatam, let's discuss about 22. Yes, from 9, one is Buddha avatar. Okay, so then he explains about that Krishna has got unlimited incarnations, as we see the ripples in the water. And then even he described that all the rishis, all the manus, all the devatas, they actually come from Krishna. And after that, he described about Ramachandra and Krishna Balram. By stating that, he made a very, very nice, this is called as also Prabhasa Sutra, or the importance of this Srimad Bhagavatam. It's being said, Ete chamsa kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavana Swami Indradi Vyakulam Lokam Mridyanti Yuge Yuge. Then he made a clear distinction that Krishna is the Bhagavan Swami, and all these incarnations are either their planetary incarnations or incarnations of the planetary incarnations, either the expansion of the Amsa or expansion of his Amsa's Amsa. And stating that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. And this is, last line says, Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. He just go around and into all the universes playing. Right. And we see in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Yada Yada hi dharmascha. We know that this verses very well. So Krishna says, whenever there is a decline of dharma, I come back to establish it. So in a nutshell, it's being said that Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations. So one thing will make it clear that all the Vishnu's avatars, or what we see the Leela avatars or Guna avatars, everything, they all are coming from Krishna. And though every incarnation is as equal as Krishna, but they come for a specific purpose, like Narsingh Dev. He came just to please his devotee Prahlad Maharaj. Right. But when Krishna came, he did all the pastime. He can do everything. So even Narsingh Dev can do everything, but he just came for doing one specific task or purpose. We'll go in more detail when we go into the seven cantos about hearing about Narsingh Dev over there. And even the whole Srimad Bhagavatam from 2nd canto onwards, it's started describing about all this. In 3rd canto comes about Kapil Dev. In 9th canto it comes about Amrish Maharaj, and then it continues about describing all these great souls and personalities and incarnation of Krishna. So we'll go on discussing on that, right? And this verse, if you want to read on Srimad Bhagavatam, it says 1st canto chapter 3 and text number 28. It says, Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnation. By stating that, and he says, by taking shelter of him, persons can get relief from this bondage of birth and death. And after that, there are different forms is being described about Virat Rupa. We see a whole chapter in Bhagavad Gita as well about Virat Rupa. after discovering all this, the sixth question is being answered, right? So first question, second question answer was given as bhakti. Then the third question it was skipped, and the fourth question answer was given as the Purusha avatar, three Vishnus. And then again he comes to fifth questions, Leela avatars. We see that in 22, these are called as Leela avatars. And then he came back to question number 2, that is Krishna is the supreme fountainhead of all incarnations. And then he comes to sixth question. So the sixth question, he goes like, let me go open the verse. Yeah. So there says, Krishna swadhamanopagate dharma jnana vidhi saha kalau nashta drisham esa puranarko adunodita. That is in 43 verse. The sixth question being answered. The sixth question was, where did dharma took place when Krishna went? Right. Then that says, this Krishna swadhamanopagate, when he went to his dhama, the dharma and jnana, they went with him as well. But kalau nashta drisamesa, kalau nashta means in this age of Kali, the person who have lost their sight because they don't have the proper knowledge, the knowledge is being is been illusioned by the darkness of the ignorance. This brilliant Srimad Bhagavatam is got arose as like sun, and that is why everything takes shelter in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll read the purport, translation. It says, this Bhagavata Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion and knowledge, etc. Person who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. What does that mean actually? See, the thing is that once Prabhupada, he was questioning to some philosophers and scientists. He says, in this whole universe or in the whole world, do you have any institute or college which actually teaches about the science of soul? The answer is no. Just imagine, we have spent so many years as of now studying in school, so many books, studying in colleges, studying in higher schools, studying in university, even in professional life, we're still studying, isn't it? Every now and then we see technology got upgraded, we start studying. But how many of these 30-40 years of life, how many time we have actually spent to hear or to know about Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or about our own self? The first is science of self, science of soul. So once we know about our own self, then we know more about the self, and that is that he is dependent on the super soul. How many times? Just ask the question to our own self, isn't it? And an interesting thing, you might all have actually seen this forwarded message maybe 3-4 months back, when in India it was completely locked down, and there a message came that colleges are closed because those are non-essentials as of now. So it means we have gone through the colleges which is actually a non-essential part of our life. Just imagine it. So it doesn't mean that we should not study, we should not do, but the thing that we should also try to endeavor to know more about our own self, to know more about God, to know about the relationship what we have with Krishna. That should be the goal of life as well, not just hankering for our work. So sometimes people misunderstand. It says, okay, for that we have to go away. It's not like that. Krishna asked Arjuna to fight the war, not to go away from the war, isn't it? So being this Krishna consciousness or studying about, knowing about Krishna is so sublime that being in your own home, you're taking your own job, being with your family, with your relatives, with the society, you can be elevated just by taking shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita and Harinam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has just said, Jare dekho tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. Just speak about Krishna, use your senses to speak about Krishna, to know about Krishna, chant holy name, and we will be elevated, we will be liberated. That is it. Right. So that is how the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam says that this is the cream of scriptures. Even it is an incarnation of Krishna himself, and it arose like sun. Whenever there is sun is there, the darkness goes away. Right. So by saying that, it again goes with parampara. We discussed earlier on parampara. Parampara is Sukadeva Goswami gave the knowledge to Parishit Maharaj and Suta Goswami, and then Suta Goswami is actually giving the same to the sages of Naimisharanya. He is not deviating his talks. He's just presenting what he is giving. Right. In a similar way, the parampara comes and all the disciples, they actually get this knowledge from their guru and they pass it on back. There doesn't change here and there. Right. That is why disciplic satsang is very, very important in a spiritual life. One more thing to understand is, sorry for a bit dragging. See, when it comes to spirituality, we says we know everything. Just imagine, let's suppose you are a mathematician, right? You have done your PhD in mathematician, so you can read very well. But is it possible that you go to a library where you can find a medical book, or where you can see that how heart surgery can be done, and you claim that I have gone through the books properly, one by one, word by word, and now I am able to, or I will be able to operate hearts? Do we think people will come to us? No. For that, we need to graduate or take a degree from a authorized college, medical college, to do a heart surgeon, isn't it? In the similar way, when we need to know about understanding of scriptures, this is also a science, and for that we need to understand it from a right authority. If you just see, if you are diseased something, let's suppose your stomach is not well, if you Google, you can find hundreds of solutions. How can you get fixed? How can you get homemade remedy? And how can you get everything? Medicines, what medicines you can buy from chemist? We all find it. But the best way is to go to a doctor and see him. He prescribed, because everyone is a different. So they prescribe what you need to take, depending upon your different composition of the bloods, isn't it? In a similar way, to understand these holy scriptures, we need to take shelter of spiritual masters, and that's what Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Go, take shelter, serve them, and inquire with submissiveness, because they have seen the truth. They will be able to explain the truth to you. Right? We generally miss this part. We said, okay, Bhagavad Gita, I know it. Right? Work is worship. We know it. But actually, there is much more onto that. And it finishes our chapter number 3. And I'll just summarize the 6th question again. What is the ultimate good? Because these are very, very important for us. What is the ultimate good? To develop love of God through bhakti. Essence of all scriptures, answer is the devotional service. Purpose of Krishna appearance, to reclaim people in the mode of goodness. We need to elevate ourselves to mode of goodness, and we can go back to Golok Vrindavan. 4th, Purusha Avatar, we explained the 3 Purusha avatars. And Lila avatars, we explained about 22 Lila avatars as well. And where did religion go? Religions come back in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? And that is how chapter 3 gets concluded. And then the Shonak Adi Rishi, they were listening, and they asked another question. They asked 3 more questions to that. And they say, please explain the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then they asked, like, when, where, or why, or how did this Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam? These are the first question. And the second question they asked, please describe about Parishit Maharaj, who was the hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, and also please describe about the Sukadev Goswami, who was a speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam. So these three questions is being asked, and then Sukadeva Goswami started narrating about these questions again. Though they started describing about the birth and activities of Parishit Maharaj, and then they wanted to know more about Parishit Maharaj. So these three questions goes on, and they describe how about history of Bhagavatam first. The first question, they says that earlier the Vedas, they actually came from the mouth of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma read it not once but thrice, and then he spoke the Vedas. Actually, he got inspiration from Lord Krishna within the heart. In the first slok, remember, Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kaviya Muhyanti Yatsuriya. The first verse we read, there Lord Krishna, he imparted the knowledge into Lord Brahma's heart, and then Lord Brahma spoke the Vedas. So everything came from Lord Brahma's mouth. And then what did Vyasadeva did? Vyasadeva, by seeing, because he was again incarnation of Krishna, and he could see the sages, they have the capability to see further, and he could see that Kali Yuga is approaching, and Kali Yuga people won't be able to understand these Vedas. And we seen in a last session that the qualities of 6 qualities of Kali Yuga: Parayana Alpayeshu Kalo Asmin Yuge Janha Manda Sumanda Manda Bhagyo. Right. So that's, having said that, he divided that Veda into 4 parts. So we know that 4 Vedas, what? Rig Ved, Samaved, Yajurved, and Atharva Ved. The 4 division of the Veda is being done by Vyasadeva. How can we understand it? Let's suppose there's a pile of stones, isn't it? When we go to hill, we can see the pile of stones may be colorful. Some may be yellow, some may be white, some may be black, some may be blue. The piles are there, and the children, when they go and play, they start making different groups. In a similar way, Vyasadeva divided those 4 stones into different parts. He described, it was all clubbed into one, and he made one part of everything. Blue stones, 1 part; red, 1 part; green, 1 part; and white, 1 part, let's say. In the same way, he divided into 4 parts. Rigved he gave to Paila Rishi. Then Samaved he gave to Jaimini Rishi. He said, okay, you are an authority of this, start your preaching or teaching on this chapter or this Veda. And then Yajurved he gave to Vaishampayana, and then Atharva he gave to Angira Muni. And then the Puranas and the historical records he gives to Roma Harsana Sutta. By describing this, and then still what happened, Vyasadeva was actually feeling dissatisfaction. He was actually, after writing all the 17 Puranas and Upanishad, and still he was not satisfied within his heart. He said, I have made so much well effort, but still why I am not satisfied? He asked the question to himself. Still he is feeling incompleteness. What was missing in that? And as he was thinking and meditating, his guru, Narada Muni came up, and he asked that what happened, Vyasadeva? Why are you regretting? And Vyasadeva, he gave him a seat and offered obeisances because he was spiritual master. And then he said him, oh my Lord, you are my spiritual master, and you are spiritual master, and you have the capability to understand what's going in my heart. You can see further as well. So please diagnose my problem and give me the solution. See, this is called as guru. because the guru, they know the heart of the disciples very well, right? Because even Krishna is also is kind of, the guru, not Krishna. Guru is a representation of Krishna himself, so they can understand what the disciples are thinking of, right? And then he, Narada Muni, so that's how we enter into chapter number 5, where Narada Muni instructs on Srimad Bhagavatam to Vyasadeva. He says, your inquiries are very, very good. You are actually asking a question that's nice, but still the problem is that in the everything you have not elaborately described the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam or glories or the pastime of Krishna, right? You wrote Mahabharata and you wrote about impersonal Brahman, but still the missing part is that you have not sufficiently broadcasted the glories of Lord Krishna. You have given more emphasis on four Purushartha. Purushartha. Purusharthas what? Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. You have given more emphasis on this fourth. Like people should do dharma to get artha, or when they have artha, they do kama. Kama is basically sense gratification. They enjoy it more and more, and then when they are frustrated with it, they go for moksha. But you have not emphasizes on the glories of bhakti, by which actually persons can do bhakti. Even we see all the Puranas, you find a little bit of bhakti over there, but emphasis is more on karma kanda. Like you worship this god with these rituals, these are the process, and you get the boon. But the taking shelter of Lord Krishna, that is not being described well. That is what Narada Muni described to Vyasadeva, and he told that, he actually, to be very honest, Narada Muni condemns the karma kanda and even jnana yoga without devotion. So if there is no devotion, the karma or jnana is useless. And we will understand this again when Kapila Muni, he instructs his mother Devahuti. He's saying the jnana yoga or Stanga yoga, they finally should conclude into bhakti yoga, to the devotion. Then it has some meaning, otherwise it's not. We'll go on to that. So then again he says, Vyasadeva, you are actually qualified. The only thing is that you need to write these scriptures again, write the Bhagavatam very well. And having said that, he given a logical reasons to why bhakti is higher. And he says, even someone who does bhakti and he fall down, there is no loss. There's always win-win situation. And that's again in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explained the same thing as well. He says, if even one does a bhakti, and if he's not completed, he takes his next birth in a very pious family, or in a Brahminical family, or in an aristocratic family, so that he do not have to worry. See, for enjoying sense gratification in this material world, we need money. And when we take birth in an aristocrat family, so that we don't have to worry about money, we can actually start or carry on our bhakti. So bhakti is what? There is no loss in that. That's what explained by Narada Muni. And many times devotees give examples how to understand that. We have two bank account. Let's imagine. One is the material bank account where we earn money from office salary and it goes out, and one is a bank account of bhakti. So this account, we get money on a first day of the month or last day of the month, and throughout the month it just get debited, no more credit, isn't it? We just go on, no more salary coming, one day 30 days spent. But in bhakti, wherever you are, whatever it is, you put more, it grows more and never goes down. It never goes down, even in next life, not just only one. So imagine if someone has a good bank balance and he died, and next time when he took birth, and he could remember very well everything. He could remember that, I can claim you that these are my, certificates. I have gone through these universities, and this was my bank account, this was my address, and this much money was left when I died. Do we believe and do we think that the banker, they are going to pay the money to the child? No way. Even in the same case for education, even we have done, very high qualification from renounced universities and colleges, but after death we have to go it again, the same process. But in case of bhakti, even in one life we have gone through 10%, in the next life we'll start from 10, go higher, and when there's 100%, we go back to Golok Vrindavan to serve Lord Krishna's. So this was instructions given by Narada Muni to Vyasadeva, and then he says, so please describe it. And then Vyasa Muni, he asked about the pastimes of Lord Narada, and then Narada Muni describes about his past life, and that we will be discussing from tomorrow, about the pastimes of a previous birth of Narada Muni, and then we'll carry forward from there. So thank you very much for being with me. I'm taking a 10 minutes extra every day, but it's a very short time, so sorry for that. And if you have any questions, please do post me on our WhatsApp group. We can actually take from there. And thank you everyone. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.